good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the listening public, the beautiful people here on the island of Nevis, those on our sister island of St. Kitts, those who are in and around the Caribbean. Good evening to you. Good evening to our friends and family in the United States and Canada and the United Kingdom, where I hear it's quite cold at this time of year. Good evening to all of you, wherever you are tuned in. This is the first show of the new year of On The Mark. And thank you for those who are here and those who would have joined us. Happy New Year to each and every one. I wish you God's grace, mercy, continued blessings. And I wish that this year all your wishes may come true. I want you to have good health and all the success in the world. Happiness and an abundance. That abundance may be for you and for your families. I pray and hope that God will bless you and keep you, and that His gaze will always be upon you. His face will always shine on you. So I wish everyone who's listening a very happy new year. Welcome back and thank you very much. I believe we all enjoyed the Christmas break. It was a time to reconnect with friends and family, to spend time. And here in the island of Nevis, I believe we had a good Christmas season. I understand it on St. Kitts for Carnival and for Christmas there was also a very good season. And I want to thank all of our people. I have not heard of any untoward incidents during the carnival in St. Kitts, and so I think that we ought to give praise to God that He kept us all safe. Give praise to our police, our army, our security forces, that they kept the peace and kept us safe, and that all who enjoyed themselves for carnival would have had a good time and would now move on as we have started the new year to continue to work and produce and to build St. Kitts and Nevis. There is a lot that's happening, a lot that we have planned, a lot to talk about. And of course, when I open the lines, as I intend to do shortly, I would want you to call in. There may be friends and family you may want to send greetings to, or you may have some issue that for you is an important issue that has to be raised as well. And so I say good evening to one and all. Ladies and gentlemen, this show, On The Mark, is now going into 2025. Praise be to God that we're still here, that we still have the strength and the interest, and that you, the public, still have some interest in this show after what looks now to be some 20 years or so that we've been here. It has been a very, very long time that we've been on air and having this conversation with you on a Wednesday. We remain the only show of its kind in the Federation. 2 hours of primetime talk radio without interruption, because we don't have any commercials. And that's possible because of the law firm of Daniel Brantley, which continues to finance this show and to pay the bill so that we can have this conversation. I want to thank them again for their continued commitment to this show, and to thank you, the public, who listen online and on radio and make your comments as is usual. So thank you all for your support over the years, and we continue to hope that as life lasts and as strength lasts and as interest lasts, that we may continue here partnering with VON Radio to bring a show to you each Wednesday from 8 to 10, which is of some value. A show that our people can enjoy and that is informative. We have the standards set by VON Radio where only the best will do. We have our own standards here on this show where we invite all shades of public opinion, but we ask that we not become disagreeable. Oftentimes we disagree, and oftentimes that disagreement may become a little heated, but let us respect each other. Let us foster an environment where different views can contend, and remember that whilst maybe only a few people call in, there are large numbers of people listening around the world. And what they hear is a reflection on us as a people. What they hear is a reflection on the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, how we can speak to each other, how we can engage with each other, and whether we have views and opinions, even if we differ, we try to educate and inform. What for me is important is the standard of the conversations that we have. I am not asking you to agree with me, nor indeed can you compel me to agree with you. But the quality of conversation can educate and edify those that are out there and those that may be listening. We will have some interesting shows this year, with the grace of God. We have some interesting information. And of course, we will have some politics. I am a politician, to be sure. But the purpose of this show really is to try to elevate the standard of debate in our country. And so those who may wish to call, I ask you to keep that in mind. Having said that, we have had today our first cabinet meeting of the year here of the Nevis Island Administration. I want to go on record to thank my colleagues for their continued commitment to all that is happening on this island, the way that they show up and they continually give of their very best. I want to thank the Deputy Premier, the Honourable Eric Evelyn, and the proud representative of the people of St. George, Gingerland. I want to thank the Honourable Spencer Brand, the proud representative of the people of St. Paul's. I want to thank the Honourable Troy Liebert, who has been there with me from the inception that we got into government in 2013. I want to thank the Honourable Janelle Nisbet. She is the rookie and the female amongst us in terms of ministers, and she is charged with the important Ministry of Health. I want to thank our Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Stedman Tross, who's also been a constant as the Northern Star. I want to thank our legal advisor, Helen Lewis, Mrs. Helen Lewis, who has also been with us and constant in terms of her advice to us. And that small cadre of individuals, we meet, we discuss, we try to make decisions that we hope are in the best interests of the people of Nevis. And on that score, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll hear me talk about these things because I feel that it's important for us always to hold our record of achievement up for scrutiny. Politics is not private business. Politics is public business. And in politics, when we engage, when we enact policies, when we enforce policies or rules, the public ought to be able to see the benefit of it. You would recall that we had an election campaign. In fact, we had two in 2022. We had first the federal election, and then we had a local election. The CCM triumphed in both elections on the island of Nevis. We won all 3 seats at the federal level, and then we won 3 of the 5 seats at the local level, but we also won the majority vote in both elections. That is, the majority of people voted for CCM. The majority of people still say that on the island of Nevis, the Concerned Citizens Movement is their party of choice. During that election, in fact, during both elections in 2022, there was considerable noise being made, as one would expect. We are a robust democracy here, robust and raucous and sometimes noisy democracy. Somebody said to me the other day, we have more talk shows than anywhere else in the region. We have newspapers, we have Facebook, we have all kinds of social media outlets. People are constantly spinning and trying to spin and doing all manner of things. We understand that. It is the nature of democracy. But it is also important to have conversations, a type that I try to have on this program, which seek to elevate that debate and seek to have facts placed on the table, and if there are differences of opinion, then have those opinions shaped by fact, not by fiction or emotion, but by fact. During that election cycle of 2022, both federal and local, there was a vitriolic campaign waged against me and against the CCM. And that campaign, which emanated largely from St. Kitts, led by the then outgoing Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, but parroted by his colleagues and friends in the NRP in Nevis, was really that we had got some monies from the citizenship by investment proceeds, and that we had squandered those monies, that we had nothing to show, and that we had spent badly. In fact, I think the term that he coined was that I, as Premier, was a bad spender. It was said of us that we had wasted those resources, that there was nothing to show. And it was a matter that got some traction because, of course, it was coming from an individual who had held the chair of Prime Minister and was seen in a particular light. And then as he made these comments and statements, naturally his colleagues and acolytes and supporters within the NRP, his sister party over here, they parroted those accusations. And so that is the way that it went. We kept saying to the people of Nevis in response that, one, we have always been transparent in terms of our expenditure. We have always been clear as to what priorities we have set and what expenditure we have put out in support of those priorities. We have said to our people during that campaign, look around you. Look at the projects that we would have done if you want to see what we would have done with the monies that we received. Mark you, this was a debate that was framed in the context of the people of Nevis saying that it was time that we received a fair share of the proceeds of the Citizenship by Investment Program. At that time in 2022, when this debate was raging, we had done our own analysis and calculation, and that analysis led us to the view that at a minimum the Federation had brought in $5.5 billion, $5.5 billion from CBI, of which the people of Nevis had received somewhere in the region of $400 million at that point in time. So what we had received was in fact just about 8%. 8%. It therefore means that the federal government on St. Kitts, under the then leadership of Timothy Harris, would have kept somewhere in the region of 92% of those resources for St. Kitts. And the island of Nevis received 8%. Yet, we were continually asked to account for how we spent our 8%. We were continually attacked and said that we squandered and wasted our 8%. That was the narrative. In fact, that narrative has not yet abated, because up to recently during Culturamas, people were here enjoying themselves. The NRP being the NRP, they can't do any better. They mounted billboards all around the island, they say, and one of the big things was, we wasted money. Where the money gone? And so tonight I want to take a moment, not to spend the show, but to take a moment to say, where did the money go? The money went into water. This island of Nevis embarked in the last decade on the largest investment in water infrastructure ever seen in Nevis. The numbers are being compiled, but based on what I have seen, we have spent somewhere between $49 and $54 million in the past 10 years on water development. We spent over $30 million on completely revamping and updating and modernizing our water distribution network all across Nevis. I am sure that those of you out there will remember there was a time when it appeared that all of Nevis was under construction. The backhoe operators, the excavator operators, they were all getting a bite. The truckers, because we were digging up all around the island, replacing the old cast iron pipes with brand new technology, polyurethane pipes. In fact, I learned some of the language. There's actually a machine called a butt fusion machine that they use to fuse those pipes. Our people were trained, and we replaced that across Nevis. We increased the size of pipes that we were using, and that helped to eliminate a lot of areas where they had low water pressure. That was phase 1. Phase 2, we embarked on new storage infrastructure. We replaced most of the tanks around the island, and those that we didn't replace, we sought to repair to ensure that we had adequate storage, so that when we got water, we had storage for that water. Spring Hill, Pond Hill, up there in what's it called up there, just above Brown Pasture. You go around this island of Nevis, you see what we have done. Stony Hill, new tanks, polyurethane tanks all across this island. We invested millions of dollars in that aspect of it. The third phase for us is then to find additional water. And we've approached that in 3 ways. 1, there was a high producing well in the Hamilton area, but the water that was being produced from that well was not up to WHO standards. That well therefore was condemned. When we looked at it, we said, no, this is a high producing well. What can we do to use the water from that well? And we came up with the plan through the Honorable Spencer Brantley to treat that water. And so we invested significantly in a water filtration system, quite elaborate system, where we run the water from the well through that system and it comes out at the other end potable, WHO standard, and that then goes into our system. That added hundreds of thousands of gallons into our system. We then said, let us explore desalination. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, under the Unity Administration as I was, I had negotiated with the United Arab Emirates 2 desalination plants, one for St. Kitts, one for Nevis. The one for Nevis was started, and I'm so proud tonight to say to you, the public, that the water from that desalination plant is already being used by us. It's already in our system. We worked, we have completed that project, and we have connected that water to our system. In fact, the minister reported to the cabinet today that one of our wells is actually at this point down. There's a problem with the pump, but you know what? You nor I would know that because there has been no interruption in the water supply on the island of Nevis. So that 1, treatment facility in Hamilton, 2, desalination, 3, we contracted with a company from Trinidad and agreed to spend somewhere in the region of $10 million to do the drilling of 9 additional wells on the island. The first 2 wells that were done at Maddens have both yielded water. In fact, again, the minister, the Honorable Spencer Bryan, has reported that one of those wells alone is going to yield well over 300,000 gallons a day, and the second well looks like it will come in at about 170,000 gallons a day. It means that both wells at Maddens will give us almost 500,000 gallons of additional water per day. But we haven't stopped there. We are already preparing a site in Descents as the next site to be drilled, and we have sites in Braziers and around this island. We are not drilling randomly. Before we embarked on drilling, we hired the services of Mr. Skip Hogue to do the necessary studies, and he has identified the areas that we ought to drill in. I say that to say this, that whilst we are being accused of wasting money, of exercising poor judgment, of not using resources that we had in a prudent and sensible manner, we were building out the water infrastructure on the island of Nevis. We were investing in something that all of us require for our daily lives. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, there is, at this point as I'm speaking tonight, I am proud to say no water problems exist on the island of Nevis. I, of course, can't say what tomorrow holds. I can't tell you that all the drilling is going to be successful, but I can tell you that the mere fact that currently one of our wells is out of production and we did not even notice that it was, it speaks to the sustainability, the long-term vision, and frankly, the level of leadership that the island of Nevis has had over the past decade. So when others were talking, holding 92% of the resources, but lambasting us for being bad spenders and poor spenders, we were investing in critical infrastructure on the island of Nevis like water. And that is why wherever you are on this island, whether you're up on Rollin Mountain or you're down in the plains of Low Street, you have water in your pipes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If there's an interruption, it is because there is some problem with the system, and that is the aberration, not the norm. Now, there are many people who will take that for granted. There are many people who will say, so what? But I am saying to you, our job as government, our job as responsible leaders, to make sure that you don't even notice, is to make sure that these things are so customary. These things are so normal that there is really not a thought paid to it. You turn on your pipe, you expect water. And that is what happens on the island of Nevis. It is sometimes said, oh, you must do things that are flashy, you must do things that you could jump in front of the press and, give out money and make people jump up and rear, have the big band and let people wind up and have a good time. But at the end of the day, of what value is it for you to wind up and have a good time, but you go home and you can't bathe because you don't have any water? Think about it. We in Nevis have had the benefit of a party in government that ignores the noise and focuses on doing the job. And a lot of what we and Nevisians and residents take for granted has come about because we have made the necessary investment to make that possible. Let us switch to electricity. When all that noise was being made about how we were squandering the resources that we had, Nevis purchased not one, not two, but 3 engines at Nevlik. 3. And it is because of our investment in the last 10 years in engines, additional engines at Nevlik, that we have been able to provide Nevisians with a seamless supply of electricity. I'm not here suggesting that we don't have outages, but they again are the aberration, not the norm. If this island goes down in terms of electricity, you know something has gone wrong in terms of an accident on the road knocking out poles, or sometimes the engines, because they are modern engines, if they detect a problem on the line, they will shut down to protect the engine. But we are not having any blackouts in Nevis. We are not having any long periods of outages for electricity. And while we must continue to invest, I point out that whilst we were being accused and vilified and crucified, we were investing in electricity to the point now where the people of Nevis have a reliable supply of electricity, a reliable supply of water. That is what the government is supposed to do. That is why you elect governments. And I again remind you that we had 8% of the CBI money. That's what we were working with. 8%. No more, no less. 8%. Notwithstanding we have 1/3 or thereabouts of the population, we had 8% of the proceeds. And to denigrate and attack us because we said that we ought to have a fair share of those proceeds, they said that we were spending badly. Well, we spent on water. We spent on electricity. Let us look at roads. The road infrastructure in Nevis has been improved beyond recognition. I spoke to a lady recently, an elderly woman, who said she was from Bath but had lived many years in England. She said she came home and she went to Bath and she got lost. She got lost. I said, why did you get lost? She said, because I couldn't recognize Bath anymore. It has been transformed. We can say the same thing of Hanley's Road. We can say the same thing of Brownhill. We can say the same of Braziers. We can say the same of Shaw's Road. And I can go on and on. We have invested significantly in the road network and infrastructure in Nevis to the point where I think I can say without fear of contradiction, we have one of the best road networks in the Caribbean. The best. Particularly when we look at the small islands and their infrastructure. What did we do with the money? We invested in roads. People who travel back and forth. You now use our water taxi facility at Wally. You use our reception area at Wally. I don't know that many people even bother to think about it. In fact, it has become so normal now that you may well be fooled into thinking it was always there. But again, that's the vision of leadership that you can trust, leadership that is committed, leadership that is thinking about the future. When we invested in that water taxi pay, I hope the public remembers the howls of protest. People said all manner of things, but we persevered. We continued with that investment, and I tonight will say without fear of contradiction that the water taxi pay at Wally has revolutionized travel between St. Kitts and Nevis. It has led to the creation of a brand new industry, the water taxi industry in St. Kitts and Nevis. And when we saw the recent figures, I believe it was the Honorable Eric Evelyn who spoke to those figures at the National Assembly, we see that hundreds of thousands of people have passed through that facility in the last few years since it has been opened. Going between St. Kitts and Nevis now is as easy as 1, 2, 3. People are going for dinner over to St. Kitts. People are coming for dinner here in Nevis. It's back and forth. And I think sometimes people take these things for granted. They forget that it is vision, it is leadership, it is setting priorities, it is working towards those priorities that create lasting impact for the country. We had 8% of the money. We created the water taxi facility at Wally. We created a reception area at Wally. We created an environment that people are comfortable, that we can feel proud as we travel to and from our sister St. Kitts. 8%. That's what we got. What did we do with it? We built the Mondo track. I know that, again, there were howls of protest. What you building the Mondo track? Why you building it out there? But I said, as the area representative and as a patriot, somebody who loves this island, I said, it is unconscionable that our young athletes continue to train and have to run on grass and dirt when their colleagues on St. Kitts are running on proper surfaces and their colleagues around the region are running on proper surfaces. So when they have their talent and they have to go to compete, it is difficult for them because they are now forced to compete on a proper surface when they never had that to train on. And so we, again, using our 8%, built the Mondo Track facility. The first 9-lane facility using Mondo's new technology in the Caribbean. The first. I believe only Rio Olympics and in the UK, Mondo had used that technology before we here in Nevis used it. Because we made that investment. When the Kim Collins Stadium in St. Kitts went down, Minister in St. Kitts, Minister Duggins, was able to reach out to Nevis and said, hey, can you carry the load for us? Can you host the inter-high meet for us? Can you host the ginseng up meet? Can you do these meets in Nevis? It could not have happened, ladies and gentlemen, had this government, this CCM government, had we not had the quality of leadership that said, ignore the noise and invest in that Mondo track for the benefit of our youth and the benefit of our people. Who would Samuel have turned to if we had not done that investment? And we have seen as a result of that investment better results by our athletes. Better results locally, better results nationally, better results regionally and internationally. Again, these are examples of what we were able to do with our 8%. We all remember that the Treasury building in Charlestown was burnt to the ground. Maliciously so. We don't know what whoever burnt it down, and we gather there were people who were paid to burn it down, what those who had it burnt down were trying to hide. But it was burnt to the ground. There is now a majestic new 3 or 4 story building there in its stead. Again, what did we do with the 8%? That's what we did with our measly 8% of the money. a new financial center right there in the heart of Charlestown. We had police officers at Newcastle whose companions at night were cockroaches, rats and mice. They were living in deplorable conditions. And we said that was unacceptable. I will go to my grave thanking the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, because when others wavered, he stood firm and said, in the constituency of St. James, in the village of Newcastle, we must have that police station. And many may not know that he actually started the construction of that police station with a small amount of money from the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. Drive over there today. See what we have created. The Newcastle Police and Fire Station. See the comfort that the officers now have. The dignity that they now have, living and serving out of that facility. There were some, and I was in the room. In fact, I'm sad to say, some right here in Nevis, who went to Basti and argued that there ought to be no police station at Newcastle. They said, just buy the police them some car and let them live in Cotton Ground and Gingerland. And if anything, let them respond. And the argument was made consistently by my brother Alexis and parroted by me that the people of St. James and the parish of St. James is one of the most important parishes on the island of Nevis. At the time, there was the Nisbet Plantation Hotel. There was the Medical University of the Americas, the Uali Hotel, and then water taxi facility. You had these important institutions, the airport, all of those situate in the parish of St. James. And then you had large communities, Brickhill, Butlers, Newcastle, Shaw's Road, all of these communities. And naturally, a police station should be there. Imagine if those others had had their way and we had not built that police station, but instead had bought a few cars, as was the proposal, and when somebody who had a problem over at MUA, or had a problem there at Oali, or had a problem at the airport, had to call for police, police had to respond from either Gingerland or Cotton Ground. Had to call for the fire truck had to respond from Charlestown. The point that I'm seeking to make is we had again to ignore the noise and have the level of tenacity and stick-to-itiveness, the level of commitment to the people, a vision that went beyond the immediate but looked down the road. And as I've asked you, drive by now and see the Newcastle Police and Fire Station. That's what we did with our 8%. Ladies and gentlemen, I can go on and on. I challenge all of us out there to take a look at the vision that manifested itself at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park, at the transformation that has occurred at Pinnis. I invite you to look at these projects that have been executed and delivered. Go and have a look at the Bath Stream and what has been done there. Have a look, because oftentimes when we hear the rhetoric, one can be persuaded. So noisy is that rhetoric, that indeed resources have been squandered and there's nothing to show. But I'm here to say this evening that this island of Nevis has been blessed in the last decade to have had leadership that is committed to the people of this island. We have been blessed to have had leadership which isn't just about talk, but has the results. King Conris, I think it is, who did the song about show me your trophy. Well, all of these that I've identified are trophies that are there for one and all to see. I'm not even going to get into the what I would call the intangibles, the number of students that we've assisted with scholarships and financial aid from this government, the number of persons who have found themselves in medical situations that this government has assisted, spending millions of dollars over the past few years. You want to know where our 8% went? That is where our 8% went. Education, health, the investments that we would have made, the investments that all of us benefit from, but arguably some of us take for granted. My wife is a real estate agent. That's her business. And she said to me the other day that she had some clients who came from St. Kitts, and that those clients had lived in St. Kitts and were thinking about relocating to Nevis. And as she drove them around and showed them various places, one of the questions she was asked is, could she tell them at what time at nights is the water shut off? And she said she found it a puzzling question. I said, yes, they want to know what hour is the water normally off. I was recently over at a place called Orchid Bay, a beautiful restaurant on St. Kitts on the peninsula. And I saw they had some black tanks, and I inquired. And the chap told me that the peninsula gets water in St. Kitts 3 days per week. They're told when the water will be turned on and they fill up the tanks. A colleague of ours just came back from St. Lucia. And he said in St. Lucia he went to visit a friend, and the friend said, sorry, but no water. Can't flush toilets, can't do anything because I'm out of water. We look at Antigua. We look at Puerto Rico, which is a U.S. territory with all the might of the great United States behind them. We look at the United States Virgin Islands and the experiences they've had on there with WAPA. I'm sure we've all heard of WAPA, Water and Power Authority there in the USVI. And I say to our people here on the island of Nevis that we are blessed. We are blessed. God has blessed us with the type of leadership that He has put there, because the Bible tells us that God appoints. And it is true, no doubt, that God also disappoints. God is who raises up leaders. And He decides that this is the leadership that should be in this island of Nevis. And I'm saying that the wisdom, and His wisdom can't be questioned, but the wisdom is there. Because look at the results. Look at the investments. If that is squandering and wasting money, if investing in water and electricity and roads and Mondo Track and water taxi pier and Newcastle fire station and CCTV center in Charlestown and Treasury building in Charlestown, if those investments in healthcare and education, making sure that our people are taken care of, if those investments are bad spending, then good God, everybody needs to be engaged in some bad spending. Because that's why you elect government. That's why you put people there. I smile all the time in Nevis when I hear somebody jumps on social media to make noise about a pothole. People say, Premier, you know, vexed when people think. I said, no, I'm actually overjoyed. You know why? The reason why we notice a pothole is because the quality of our roads is so good. We have become so accustomed to high quality infrastructure on this island that whenever something goes wrong, there is an outcry, because that is no longer our norm. I want our people to reflect on these things. Whenever there's an interruption in electricity, it does not last a minute before people take to social media. You know why? Because it is not the norm. Whenever there's an interruption in water, for whatever reason, people jump and they start to cuss and carry on. It is not the norm on the island of Nevis. And I hold no water in my mouth to say that it is not the norm, because you've had good leadership. Government that cares, government that takes the long view, recognizing that decisions that we take today and investments that we take today, that those decisions and investments will benefit our people down the road. 10 years ago, we were investing in water infrastructure. We have never stopped, because up to today, we're still investing in water infrastructure. Guess what? Our people are the beneficiaries. Please conserve the water. I know the pipes and the taps are full, but let us also remember that we have to conserve our water. But the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that we have water in our pipes, we have electricity running through our homes and our circuits, we have good road to drive on, we have health care that we can boast about, education that we can boast about, assistance for our people, scholarships to our children, Mondo track for them to train, new treasury building in town. Somebody tell me it have an elevator and all. They don't. I'm the Minister of Finance, but they don't let me come in here too often. New police station over there at Newcastle. Water taxi facility that has transformed inter-island transportation in this country. I challenge anybody out there to tell me that is not true. When I go over and I see the young people over there, man, in their uniforms, you know, what Islander, what's the other ones called? The number of them plying their trade out of that facility. And you know what I marvel at? It is all Nivision owned, all locally owned. Right there at Wally. Many people take it for granted, and you see, that is perhaps where I will end this soliloquy. We ought to be mindful, brothers and sisters, that we do not take these advancements for granted. We ought to be mindful that we recognize that these advancements came about because the government of the day that you elected took decisions that had long-term beneficial value for our people and for our island. Sustainability is the new language, but in Nevis we have been practicing sustainability. We have been prioritizing sustainability. We have been making decisions that lead us as a community to a sustainable future for a long time. This is not new for us. And I want to make those points because sometimes I sit back. I went down to Pinner's the other night, had something to eat, and the people that I was with were people from overseas, and they were marveling at how beautiful it was. We were turtle time upstairs, marveling. And I took a moment to just look. It is absolutely incredible to behold. Many people even say they don't believe they're in Nevis because they knew what was. They can't believe now what is. And I took a moment because I say, you know, sometimes you get so caught up that even us in government who are responsible for the transformation, sometimes we get so caught up moving on to the next thing that we don't take a moment to reflect and to give God thanks, to thank the people who entrusted this island to us, and to thank God for the strength and the vision and the tenacity to sometimes persevere despite the criticisms. And you're doing that thing at Pinner's, some of them say, we're destroying the environment. We're doing this, we're doing that. Which of us can argue with any level of sense and sensibility that that facility has not raised the standards on this island for dining, for entertainment, for family outings, Which of us can look at the MGR Park and not admit that it has added tremendous value to this island? Which of us can look at Bath Stream and say it has not lifted that facility and transformed it into what we always knew it could be? A world-class destination for our people and for those who choose to visit. We ought not to forget. And so long as I'm able, I will remind our people, because good leadership is sometimes in short supply. And a lot of those who are talking, a lot of those who attacked us, a lot of those who said to us that we were squandering resources, when they turn on the pipe, every night they have water. I hear sometimes they sit in their jacuzzi with the bubbles. And if they don't have bubble bath, they use soap powder. Create suds that they could enjoy themselves. We have made it possible because you had a government that was looking down the road. Not just to the next election, looking down the road. A government with vision. They call it giraffe vision. Looking. That's what we were able to accomplish. Ladies and gentlemen, I have talked a lot. It is just about 12 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock based on the clock here. And I'm going to open the lines now. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700 are still the numbers to call if there's anybody out there listening who wants to call. I have a lot more things to talk about, but I will allow the lines to be open. So if there are any callers, please feel free to call in. We are at this stage in the middle of our tourism season, and I'm pleased to say that the reports thus far have been that we had a very robust December season, and we're hopeful that the next few weeks and few months are going to pick up. Incidentally, as I talk about tourism, let me publicly commend my good friend Ellison Smitten. He has just been celebrated as the longest serving employee at Four Seasons Resort Nevis, 35 years. He has been there from the start, and he's still there. Ellison, if you're listening, congratulations. You're a gentleman, and you epitomize what it is to work hard and give value for service, value for money. You have been there, and I am proud of you, and I know all of Nevis is proud of you. So congratulations, Ellison. But across the island, we have seen the island being busy. Restaurants are full. There is a lot that's happening. And again, I want our people to understand that this is not by accident. This is because we have created on the island an enabling environment. On Nevis now, we're producing so many things. Who would have thought that Nevis would have its own beer? Well, we do. Who would have thought that Nevis is creating chain link fencing? We do. Roofing material, yes, right here. Windows, doors, gutterings, all being done on the island of Nevis. Furniture. I went recently to Kittish Hill, and I marveled at the doors and the moldings, because I'm told that the majority of those were done right here on the island of Nevis. There is a lot that is happening in Nevis. The water producers are dominating in terms of the water and the quality that they're producing in the Federation. They're not just here in Nevis, they've gone national, and I'm pretty sure have the potential to go regional and even international. There are some great things happening on this island, and I want our people to start to celebrate our successes. That is not to say that there will not be times when we have difficulty. There will not be times when we fall short, because if my reading of the good book is true, my understanding of it, I should say, is true, then God created Adam, who was perfect. He created Jesus, well, not created, he sent Jesus, who was also perfect. I don't know that the Bible or human history knows of anybody else who came who was perfect. And even perfect Adam sinned. Perfect Jesus, of course, did not sin, was without sin, but yet he was crucified. I say that to say that those of us now here today expect from time to time that things may go wrong. But that ought not to stop us from celebrating those things that are going right and those things that we enjoy every day. It ought not to stop us from that at all. I commented to somebody that in the last election my opponent from Brownhill said nothing happening. But every day she drives home on a brand new road that we built in Brownhill. And so some things you have to, as I say, ignore the noise, filter it out, and focus on the realities. Let's go to the phones and take our... We lost the caller. Caller, please call back. I'm sorry. 469-1616, 469-1700. We have to sometimes filter out the noise. Focus our attention on what is actually happening, what we can see, what we can touch, what we can feel. Because we see it. We see it. We feel it. I went down to the Four Seasons sometime over the Christmas season, and I met a lady who works there, and I said, I have not seen you in some time. How are you? And she said, I'm tired as a dog. She said, I've been working so hard, but I am happy. And it warmed my heart, because she was basically saying that she had so much work. She was pleased because, notwithstanding it was hard work, the hotel was full and running over. And our people who are out there would have earned significantly over the period. And I hope that they continue to earn significantly as they go forward. Our taxi drivers, our car rental agencies, our bus and tour operators. Let me take this call. Good evening, you're our first call for 2025. You're on the air.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
A productive new year to you and your family and your cabinet members. Mr. Brantley, for this new year, I wanted to do small things.
I'm not hearing you so clearly. Can you speak up, please?
Okay. Do small things with love, a smile, and kind words. These will make a difference in someone's life and a service to God. Also, that will be service to God. That's the art of considering others. Ecclesiastes 7, a part of it said, and I quote, a good name is better than precious ointment, unquote. What God has in store for you, He will not serve it on another person's plate. Mr. Brantley, for this coming year, stay committed. Do your best. God will do the rest. Now, for this new year as well, I want you to keep your friends close and your demons closer. Be blessed. On that note, I would like to say congratulations to my godchild, Talia Clark, on the union of her and Randy Elliott. Also, I would like to say belated birthday to her as well, Talia Clark Elliott. Belated birthday to my dearest godmother, Lorraine Brown. Mrs. Brown, Peter Lorraine Brown, is at 94, not old, strong and batted. Also, to my adopted daughter, Melba, I said happy birthday to her. To Shanida Hanley of Fountain, happy belated birthday. And to Kevin Hanley of Hamilton Estate, today is his birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, little Kevin, today's his birthday?
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay,
So, Mr. Brantley, be blessed. Do your best, and God will do the rest. Have a wonderful year. This is coming from Vanessa Tavares and her family.
Well, thank you very much, Vanessa. I thank you for the call. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure I've seen you yet, but I'm sure I will see you soon.
Sure.
And I wish you all the very best. Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right. I just want to thank Vanessa for that call and to join her in extending congratulations to all of those celebrating. To Randy and Kalia, I wish you all the very best, many, many years of happiness and good health in your union. And of course, to Mrs. Brown, happy birthday. I gather you're 94. May you continue to live and enjoy life. And then to my very, very good little friend there, Mr. Hanley from Hamilton. I want to wish him a happy birthday as well. And he has been my little friend since primary school. He's now in high school. So, Mr. Hanley, if you're listening, happy birthday to you. And happy birthday to all of those who are celebrating. And congratulations to all of those who are in some way doing something that is worthy and worthwhile and worthy of congratulations. So I join Vanessa in extending those. Again, we're taking your calls and we go straight back to the telephones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Premier.
Good evening, you're on the air. I'm well, thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Again, we're taking your calls. Well, top of the New Year to you and the family and the Nevis Island administration.
Thank you.
I also want to wish the whole Nevis a prosperous 2025. Strength to fight through all trials and tribulations. The whole one head and move us forward. And I just impose a little bit more of your time to send my condolences to the Powell family in Hamilton and by extension the Newton family over at Stony Grove for the passing of Miss Pearlie Powell. She was very close to me, so I just want to let them know that my prayers and my thoughts and my deepest condolences from my family today. So, Mr. Premier, again, to the strength of the Almighty, you and the administration, I wish you guys nothing else but the best in taking this forward 2025. You have a good night, sir.
Thank you very much for your call, and I too extend condolences to the family, as you say, both there in Stony Grove and in Hamilton. I have in fact reached out privately to the son, my very, very good friend, and I'm just hopeful that they are comforted by the prayers of the majority. When I come on this show, I open the lines because I know that people are out there who want to express, as you have done, condolences, congratulations, as the case may be. And I think that that is an important part of what we do here on the Mark. We provide a forum where we can connect with each other. And so thank you, caller. I know that the family will appreciate your sentiments. And so I join you in expressing my deepest condolences to the families as well. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the Mark. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Mr. Premier.
Good evening. Happy New Year to you.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Couple of questions. I realize you've been big on talking about transparency and, what the public needs to know. First question. How come after all these years we don't have a clue what transpired with the U.S. report from St. Kitts and the case?
What transpired with what report, caller?
The QS report, the quantity survey report.
Yes.
Because I found it very strange that you could have talked about Mr. Bailey and the CFPC matter. You spoke about it publicly, but then you can't talk about the QS report. Okay, that's one. Okay?
Caller, the QS report, before you go on, the QS report, the quantity survey report, you're talking about at the Alexandra Hospital?
Yes, sir.
We have not had a report.
Yeah.
The update that I gave is that hold on, caller, you asked me a question. The report that I gave to the public was that we hired a quantity surveyor on St. Kitts to do the work, and we never got the work that we hired him to do. So as far as I know, that matter is now in the court. We had to sue him to try and get back our money.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Was that matter shown out of the court, or is it still in the court?
As far as I know, I've had no other report that the matter was in the court. I gather that we got a default judgment. That's what I was advised.
Listen. Okay. So, all right. fine.
So if I have not shared a quantity survey report, it's because there was none. I hope you understand me.
Yeah, I understand it very well.
Okay.
I understand it very well.
All right.
You understand?
Question 2?
No. As it comes to water, because you're talking about water as if like it's some kind of magical experiment.
No, it's not actually. It takes a lot of hard work and good decisions.
It's a lot of hard work, but it is a continuation of government. You understand? So it's not like, oh, CCM just came into power and, oh, you know, we just have some wealth spring up somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But the most important question I want to ask, because you went into the House in December and you read the debate, and not the debate, the budget, and you spoke about the expansion of the fund and the international report. You spoke about getting funds to pay out the homeowners, $10 million or whatever it was. But there is nothing concrete to say. How are you going to finance this project? You said that arrangement with the previous, what you call it, developer, whoever, has not waned. But there's nothing concrete in the budget to say how you're going to advance, move forward with this project. How are you going to advance and how are you going to finance that project?
So this
There's
is
nothing in the budget that says that.
so this is part of the question as to transparency.
Yes.
I'm trying to understand.
How
But you want me, but
yes. So how are you going to finance that project?
Okay, so
because there's nothing in the budget.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm just asking you. So you would wish me to speak to matters before they're finalized?
No. But how can you go into the House, present the budget to the people of your nation, the people who you are the leader of, and say that next year we want to make sure that this is done before X, Y, and Z, but you don't have nobody to finance the project.
But
You're in negotiations.
caller,
No, Mr. Brantley.
caller. You know, sometimes, caller, I think we hear what we want to hear because we.
So let me ask you a question. Do you have a finalized agreement, finalized agreement as to how you will proceed with the airport project, apart from the $10 million that Joe told you to go to the National Bank and pay?
Caller, it is not $10 million. It is $20 million. If you're going to speak, then speak accurately.
Okay, so
Right?
it's 20
Good.
million, 10, 20 hours, fine. Do you have an agreement with a financier as to how you're going to go forward with this airport project?
Yes. The
Is that
details.
something that can be made public?
Just caller, can I answer? Can you give me a chance to answer you? I know you like to hear yourself, but caller, I know you like to hear yourself, but give me a chance to respond. A conversation works this way. I know you went to school in Nevis, and in school we were taught that a conversation goes like this. Caller, please, caller. A conversation goes like this.
Yes,
You ask caller, please, can you be quiet for a moment? If we're both speaking, then we can't make sense.
So don't tell me about
Well, I am trying to answer you, but you have to be
answer the question.
caller. You have to be quiet if you want an answer.
Okay, so I'm listening.
Okay. So the conversation goes like this: you ask
Yes,
a
sir.
question,
Yes, sir.
and you get an answer. I ask a question, and you answer me. That's how a conversation works.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Good.
All right.
So I'm saying to you, caller, that we have financing in place in relation to the airport project. We
Okay.
are finalizing, listen to me, we are finalizing the agreements in relation to that financing. And once that is complete, absolutely consistent with this government's
But if you
approach.
are
Caller, can you allow me to finish the answer?
Hold on.
Caller,
You are finalizing. You don't
please,
have to finalize.
maybe I need some assistance from my assistant here, because I don't know if you're calling to talk to yourself, then do a monologue. and put that out on Facebook. If you call in to have a conversation, allow me to answer the question.
So, well, answer the question.
I am saying to you that when I will have to say goodbye to you. You can call back in later when you're settled down, because you're not making any sense right now, and I'm not going to waste any more time. I apologize, but this show is a show when we have a conversation. You can't keep asking me a question, and every time I try to answer, you interrupt me. That makes no sense. You're not getting an answer, and the public out there who may or may not be interested in what you have to say, they are not getting an answer either. So when you learn the rules of communication, call back in. I would be delighted to have you as part of the show. But don't waste our time, because that is the difficulty I have sometimes on the show. There are those of you out there who want to be politicians, and you all feel you're bright, and so you're calling and you only want to hear your voice. Well, if you want to do that, have a monologue. Take up your phone, hit record, and talk for an hour, and then post it to social media. That's just you. And if that's what you want, then this is not the program for that. On this program, we have conversations. And if you Google or look in your dictionary as to what a conversation is, two people engaging. You can't keep asking me a question, and every time I try to answer, you cut me off and tell me, no. Let me answer you. And let us have a real that's why I tell you, I know who you are. I know you went to school in Nevis, and Nevis school teach people good sense. I don't know what has happened since you left school. But in school, we were taught when a question is asked, you listen to the question and then you give an answer. If there's a follow-up question, you listen, you give an answer. That's how a conversation works. But if we are both talking at the same time, I can't hear you, you can't hear me, and worst for me, the public doesn't get the benefit. So now that you're off the line and I can answer without you interrupting me, you asked whether or not we had financing in place. The answer is yes. However, we are still finalizing the agreements on that financing, and as a result, we have not come yet to the public to say to the public, this is what we have in place. It's as simple as that. This government has a record. In fact, I will stand shoulder to shoulder, toe to toe with any other administration, including the party that you support when they were in government, in terms of our transparency. Shoulder to shoulder. So we have no qualms or difficulties about disclosing to the public. But we can't disclose what we have not yet finalized, and that's the point that I don't understand. What's so difficult about that? I am not going to jump out to say, oh, this is the case and that is the case, when I don't yet have everything settled in terms of an agreement that has been finalized. But we have met with our principal financier up to, I think it was during the Christmas season. And the commitment is there. The engagement is there. In fact, we were told that if we were ready on the 1st of January, that we're ready to proceed. We're not going to be ready. Obviously, the 1st of January is gone. So, please understand that this government is a serious government. We are not a government that sends $4 million from St. Kitts to buy airport lands, but we send it through the craft house during an election cycle. That's not CCM. We don't do things like that. We're not a government that for 7 years doesn't file an audit report as required by our constitution in the parliament. CCM doesn't do those things. That's not our style of governance. We are an open and transparent government. So I want you to be very clear on that, caller, and to encourage you to just practice. You could go in front of your mirror now and say, question number 1, where was he born? And then you say, pause for the answer, he was born in Gingerland. Question number 2, where did he go to school? Pause for the answer, he went to school at Ivor Walters Primary, then called Prospect Primary. You see, that's how conversation works. You see how easy that is? But some of you are so angry and so caught up and so want to get controversy and confusion that I can't even engage in a platform such as this. This is not a little play platform, you know. It's a serious platform, caller. Serious people call into this show to have serious conversations. And if you are a serious person, I know you want to be, you aspire to be, At your age now, I hope you get there eventually. But let's have a serious conversation. And let's not engage in the nonsense that you just tried, where you're trying to talk over me. I'm not trying to talk over you. I listen to you. I give you the respect of listening to you as a member of the public. So give the same respect that you would like for yourself. And let us maintain the standard of this show. So if you want to call back in, those are the rules. You talk, I listen. I talk, you listen. If you don't want to listen, then don't call back in. Go and do a monologue and talk all night if you want to talk on Facebook or wherever else you get away with that kind of behavior. But this is not the forum for you. It is 12 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. We're taking your calls, and this is On the Mark, the first one for 2025. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you are on the mark.
Good night, Honorable Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Welcome forward.
Thank you very much.
Nice having you back. The
And-
Lord continue to bless you and family, also the members of government. And may this year, 2025, be a prosperous, healthy, and peaceful one for us all, okay? Now I would like to read my scripture. Hear this, all ye people, give ear, all ye inhabitants of the world, both low and high, rich and poor, together. My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. I will incline mine ear to a parable. I will open my dark saying upon the heart. Amen to that.
Amen.
Good night to you and all the best. I would like to say hello to my cousin there in St. Martin and my cousin down at Brown Hill. The Prentice sisters married to the Wards. Okay? Good night.
Thank you so much. I am truly appreciative of your call as usual in your scripture, and thank you for being always with this show. You are back with us in 2025, and what did you say? We're going forward. I love that. It is just about 14 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. We're taking your calls, 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of our first show for 2025. Remember, we're only going to have a first show once. Show next week can't be first again. So this is the first show. So if you want to be a part of our first show for 2025, those are the numbers to call. We are speaking about one and many things here, and I want to say that the Honorable Spencer Brand would have reported to the cabinet today. I'm not sure if I said that earlier, so I say it now, that the 2 wells at Maddens that have been completed, that water should be in our system very shortly. I think they start the connection of that water into our system in the next few days. So again, evidence of the ongoing investment and good governance that you have seen here on the island of Nevis. Let's go back to the phones. It is 1:15. Good evening. You are on the mark.
Good evening, Premier Brantley.
Good evening to you, my brother. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, sir. I want to wish both you and your family a bright and prosperous and happy New Year, sir.
Thank you very much.
I also want to wish you and your administration the same. And pray God that you will be able to manage the country this year the way you've been doing, and so that it would be to the benefit of the people of Nevis, and by extension St. Kitts too, because we are one country. Premier Brantley, you said earlier, you were talking earlier and saying that in life, you're going to have up and down. And I don't know whether anybody has to labor that point to anybody, because everybody should know by now that in life, those are just the natural laws of life, where you must have up and down. Life is a journey, not so much a destination.
Mm-hmm.
And on that journey, you're going to have some smooth roads and you're going to have some bumpy roads. If you don't something, that's not life. That's not life. The natural laws of the universe tells us that's what it's going to be. I never see the seawater calm all the time. Have you ever seen that?
No, it can't happen.
Can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
People must, we have to learn to understand that that is just how it is. You have some good times, you have some times that is not so good. But what you do, you learn from those times that is not so good, and it prepares you to move forward and to face other challenges that you may face later on in life. And my understanding is that really it is in those times that you learn more. So I don't know how you're going to avoid them. And if you don't have the two, how will you be able to enjoy the good times if you don't know of the hard times?
So you think the hard times allow you to enjoy the good times because you then have the juxtaposition?
Of course. And people must understand that this goes right across the board with government and everybody. That things are not going to always be the same way. But you learn how to navigate yourself through it and make life and be content. Anyway, once again, I want to wish you and your family a bright and prosperous and a blessed New Year, sir. Good night.
Thank you very much, my brother, and it's good to hear your voice. Always good to hear you on radio. Great contributions as always, and Happy New Year, as I said, to you and your family as well. All right, we're taking your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I was saying that we expect that the new water from our new wells will be in our system shortly. The Honorable Minister Spencer Brand has promised that, and I know when he makes a commitment, he keeps it. So I feel very, very comfortable about that. I also want to give a sort of preview, and I hope I'm not stealing any thunder from the Honorable Troy Liebert as our Minister of Education. But through a partnership that we have developed with the Winsong Foundation, we have on island now the largest shipment of new furniture for our schools in the history of the island of Nevis. We have 4 40-foot containers, I'm told, loaded with, I think, over 900 desks and chairs for the benefit of our children. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I keep saying it because I need to say it, and our people need to hear it. Some may accept it, some may reject it, but they need to hear it, that this is a government that continues to do the necessary work and make the necessary investment. You hear what I just say? 4 40-foot containers of furniture. For who? For our students. Not for CCM students, not for NRP students, for all the students of the island of Nevis. The Education Department is doing their analysis, and they will determine which schools, which classes, etc. will benefit from this furniture. This has never happened in the history of Nevis. Never happened. A first. And what we have been doing is leveraging our relationships. Leveraging our relationships. Leveraging our partnerships. The relationship with the United Arab Emirates, I leveraged that relationship to get 2 desalination plants, one for St. Kitts, one for Nevis. The relationship with the Winsong Foundation has yielded for us school buses, computers, musical equipment, steel pans, and now hundreds of desks and chairs, furniture for our schools. It is relationships that we are leveraging to get financing for the airport facility that we are undertaking. The relationship with Taiwan was leveraged to get the Malcolm Gishard Park and the additions that were done there at Pinnis. Relationships, that's what good governments develop. Good relationships, leverage those relationships for the benefit of our people. That's what we're doing. Minister Liebert, I'm not raining on your parade. I know you're going to have a lot to say about this landmark delivery of furniture for our schools, and our children will be the beneficiaries. There is no greater investment than we can make than to make it in our children, because as much as you hear us talking, and at my age now I understand that I have more years behind me than ahead of me. We have to make the way for those who are coming to take over and to continue to build. That's important. Now I want to address just one issue that an earlier caller raised. He said that this whole thing about water, basically, if I'm understanding him, that is nothing to talk about because you just carry on from a previous government. Government is continuous and you ought to carry on. If they're good policies, you carry them on. If they're bad policies, you stop them. But the period, I was very specific. I spoke about the last 10 years. And that is a period of stewardship of the concerned citizens movement. And I spoke about what we have done as a government in the last 10 years. So I am not speaking to what anybody else might have done. I am speaking to what we have done. And the facts are there. And the facts, I believe, speak for themselves. The investments are there. The investments speak for themselves. And all of us on this island are benefiting from those investments. People have water. People have electricity. People have roads to drive on. Right now, let me see the time. Let me check my phone. It is 9:22. If I were to leave here now and head over, I could get a boat to take me to Park Hyatt, to take me to Reggae Beach. We have seen the growth. We have felt the growth. We have witnessed the growth because it is happening in front of our eyes. So all the naysaying and all the foolishness and the chatter that you're hearing, that is why people really are asking questions, but they don't really want the answer, you know. They want to be able to continue to dwell in whatever little bubble where they speak to one another, all of whom are in the same bubble, ignoring the realities. They will be taking the water taxi facility on a daily basis and yet say that this government has no vision. But that is their mode of transportation. They'll be driving on the roads. As I said, my opponent drives through Brownhill every day and said nothing happened. But it's smooth road, smooth like a baby's bottom that she's driving on. She don't think that that is anything. Do you know you can now come through Brownhill, and from Brownhill you connect all the way down to the Mondo track and onto the Long Point Road? Just coming through Brownhill. All of that made possible by the vision of a government that is exhibiting leadership of the finest quality. Again, with limited resources. I go back to the fact that that's what we did with our 8%. You know, the Bible, I'm going to go back to the Bible, because the Bible talked about the master who gave talents to his various servants. And those servants who were celebrated by the master when the master returned were those who had done something with their talents. They had invested it, they had grown it. So he said, Master, you gave me 1 and I'm able to give you 5 because this is what I did. The master chastised those who went and hid their talent. And I want to make the point that that 8% was a little talent that was given to Nevis. And we invested it wisely. We invested it in infrastructure that every island and every country needs if it's going to grow and develop. We invested it in sustainability, in making sure that the critical aspects of infrastructure, roads, water, electricity, were available to our people. That's what we did with our talents. The 92%, which was the talent total that was kept in Bastia. The very ones who are accusing me and us in Nevis of squandermania and wastefulness. What did they do with their talents? Ask the question. Because had they invested their talents in water, in electricity, in infrastructure for the good people of St. Kitts, you wouldn't be seeing the problems that you're seeing today. Where now this new government has all this pressure on it. Renting generators just to keep Skelec afloat. Water rationing in St. Kitts. It is a result over the years of the investment not being made. So if the master were to come now, the master would chastise the one who had 92% of the wealth and the talent and did nothing with it. And the government, the master will say to the leadership in Nevis, come, you good and faithful servant, you've invested that measly little piece of 8% that you got, and look at what you have now. Look at what you have now. People home taking bubble bath. Imagine that. That is the result of good leadership. Having people at the helm who you can trust to deliver. You remember there was a big talk in Nevis and saying, all these projects not finished. You realize the talk cool down now? Because the talk was always rubbish talk, it was always nonsense. It was always nonsense. But you see again, some are in this echo chamber where they just continue to say things because I suppose they can. And when they say it, they bounce it off the other people in the chamber who are the same echo, same empty vessels making the most noise. Clang, 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 clang. Noise! And that's why I say, as government, we have to ignore that noise and focus in a laser-like way on delivering for the people of Nevis. That is what we must continue to do. That is what is essential. We must focus. And I am not going to lose my focus at all. I'm going to respond appropriately and as necessary. But I've said to my team, let us continue, because our employer is the people of Nevis. Those are the people that we serve, and those are the people that ultimately we answer to. And so let us continue to do the work that we're doing so that they can ultimately benefit from that work. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. It is now almost 9:30. It means that we only have half an hour left for the first program of 2025. The numbers, if you want to be a part of the show, are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. We'll be willing to take your call, and as I always say, we take all shades of opinion on this show. So please feel free to call in and be a part of the first show for 2025. As I wait for the phones to ring, I will continue to discuss some of the issues that are impacting us here on the island of Nevis, and some of the matters that we hope that we will be able to address and to continue to progress this island and move this island forward. That's our job, and it is that to which we are committed. Let me advise that tomorrow I will travel to our neighboring island, the French island of St. Bartholomew, better known as St. Barts. You may ask why. No, I am not going on vacation. I'm going to St. Barts tomorrow just for a few hours. And it's at no cost to the NIA, let me add that, because the airline is being offered as a courtesy to me and to others here from Nevis to come to St. Bart's tomorrow. If you're curious as to why, it's because I went some months ago to Nevis's first vineyard. Yes, we're growing grapes in Nevis. There's a vineyard in Nevis, very small at this point. But I went there when they were harvesting grapes, and I recall doing a video or something that I put on social media. Well, they've now taken these Nevis grapes and they say that they're producing a wine. They call it orange wine. And I confess that I was skeptical, because I said, what is orange wine? I'm not a connoisseur, to be sure, but I'm only aware of red wine and white wine. And then I suppose there's something called rosé. But this orange wine struck me, and so I started to do a bit of reading. Turns out that my understanding is that orange wine is really made from the grapes that they use for white wine, but they leave the skins on during the process, so it gives the wine an orange hue, color. So the orange is actually speaking to the color. And apparently it is an ancient way of making wine. In any event, these investors have decided that they want now to have a launch of this wine produced in Nevis. And they are having a launch ceremony in St. Bart's because they're trying to introduce that wine to that market in St. Bart's and also to introduce it to investors there. And so they've asked me to come over. I have engagements with the president there and with the senator from St. Bart's to the French Assembly, the French Parliament, and I will be engaging with them as well as hopefully having a light lunch, and then I come back to Nevis. I say that because, one, transparency and openness, which is my hallmark in government, but two, to show again the diversity that Nevis is seeking to achieve. The different strands that we're trying to weave together to create a stronger, more resilient, and more diverse economy. This winemaking, I'm not sure where it's going to go, but it has started, and it will, like any other serious attempt at investment on this island, get the support of this government. Let's go back to the phones and try and take this call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mark. This is Linnell Nolan.
Happy New Year, Mr. Nolan.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Same return to you and family. On behalf of the Returning National Society of Nevis, I would like to thank all those who contributed to our food drive for the Christmas hampers for the needy of Nevis. I'd like to first thank the stores that participated, the supermarkets, Rams, Value Mart, and the other store, soups.
Grams, Value Mart, and Best Buy?
Best Buy.
Yes.
Best Buy supermarket. Yeah, I'd like to thank them for participating. And this year we were able to give a number more hampers than we did last year. And that was very good from the contributors who made it possible. I'd also like to put in a plug for Elsa de Lashley from Elsa Catering Services, who provided a meal with each food hamper. That was very good, so at least the persons who got it were able to have a decent meal for their lunch. And I think, Mark, that it went so well that I'll actually like next year, if it's possible, I'll contact the supermarkets, and if it's possible, I'll do the food drive for 2 weeks, so we could have at least have a lot more hampers. Because there are so many needy people out there, Mark, and it's not people who just want, but real needy people. And as a society, Returning National Society, we want to contribute in our way. You know, government can't do everything. And so the different groups and organizations have to chip in so that we could be part and parcel of making Nevis and Nevisians what we are. You know, in the old time days, I remember that you go to different people's home and you always have a meal. People always have something for you. You used to get the barrels and whatnot from overseas. But we here on Nevis have to do whatever we can in order to assist the needy people on Nevis. And I also like to thank your program for contributing to the promotion of it, and also to radio station, one radio station, who assisted greatly in promoting this activity. So kudos to all those people who dropped in food in the various barrels at the supermarket, for both the Let's Talk show and your show on the mark and the radio station, who assisted greatly in promoting this endeavor that we got involved in.
Mr. Nolan, I want to thank you as well and congratulate you, because I think that we need more organizations like this doing events like this where we look out for each other. I have lamented the fact that our island and our country has lost the spirit of volunteerism. And sometimes you see it come to the fore at Christmas, but I really would like to see it happen more regularly throughout the year. And that is something that I believe we need to do more of. I commented to someone recently that I saw somebody put up on Facebook that there was a public area in Gingerland that had some garbage. Some irresponsible person had gone there and left some trash. And the response from that individual was to take photos of it and put it on social media. And I thought to myself, would it not have been better if that individual had got 1 or 2 villagers with him and cleaned it up and perhaps put on social media the cleanup that he and his colleagues were doing? But no cleanup, put it on there and talk about it, and obviously it is somebody else's responsibility. So when I see groups like yours, the returning nationals, step up and deliver in this way, I think we ought to applaud it, and I want to publicly tell you how proud I am that you called into this show and you are now saying that in some tiny way perhaps we would have contributed to the success. And I'm fairly certain, Mr. Nolan, that those recipients would have been very grateful for that gift that they would have received over the season. And so
they were, Mark.
Yes.
And one of the things I would really like to see, even, we use the food drive for Christmas, but sometime in the year, I would actually like to see us collect some good used clothing to donate to people who need this type of thing. Because when you really look in your cupboards and so on, and your clothes lockers at home and so on, some people, they have so much clothing that it's almost breaking down the racks. We need to see it come out, people get these type of clothing out and help people who really need it. And, we might go as far as to set up a place where people could come and kind of collect these type of clothing. But this type of thing is needed, not only food but also clothing.
thank you very much.
So thank you very much again for your contribution in promoting our endeavors.
Thank you, sir. And all the very best to you, and may your organization continue from strength to strength.
Thank you very much.
All right. I'm happy to have taken that call from Mr. Nolan, a man I know well. And as I said, volunteerism has become in very short supply. And we must recognize that the government cannot do it all. And that as a people, we need to do more. Every morning, as I take my morning exercise, I try to pick up bottles, my wife and I, where we see garbage on the side of the road, plastic bottles, styrofoam, we try to pick up as we are walking and put them in containers. And I marvel all the time that clearly it's a neighborhood, people live in the neighborhood. I'm not suggesting that it is the people from the neighborhood that are putting their garbage in that way. Sometimes I know we have the bad habit here of people throwing things out of vehicles as they drive along. And clearly that needs to stop. But for me, if everybody did their little part, if every one of us sought to protect this island that we have and that we love, we would be so much further along. I posted a video recently of a number of sheep and goats on the Mondo Track facility, the pride of Nevis, an investment of several $1 million for the benefit of our youth. And we as a government have taken the position that the Mondo Track should be open, that is accessible to the general public. Why? We said, well, part of what we are trying to do in Nevis is to promote good health. We continually, through the health promotion unit, try to promote movement. We say to people, get up, get out, get moving. we have the SKN moves, and so for us, part of the value of the Mondo track is to create that environment where early mornings or late afternoons, early evenings, people can go and exercise. If we have athletes out there who want to go, but they prefer to go early mornings or they prefer to go early evenings, as the case may be, to do their stretches and their exercises on the track, it's open to them. If there are track clubs who want to go on, it's open to them. The idea really is to create a hub of activity in the community where people can use it at their leisure. That is the thinking behind it. There are gates and the property is completely fenced. The gates are left unlocked, not open, let me emphasize, but unlocked, so that people can get in and out. Now, I have personally gone there more than once and chased animals out of that facility. I want to say this: there are two sets of gates. There are the gates to get into the general facility, and then there are gates again to get into the area where there's the actual track, and then on the interior where you have a football field. So two sets of gates. When I went there a few days ago, the goats and sheep were on the interior where the football facility is, the football pitches, and all on the Mondo track. It looked like they were having Olympics 100 meter or FIFA World Cup. Sheep and goat can't done. And I am frustrated by it. And I say that honestly, because I said, what will it take for our people to protect what we have? That facility was built, you hear, I've explained the thinking behind it, to allow you, whether you're young, whether you're middle-aged, whether you're elderly, to go there, have a place, a safe space, clean, nice, first-rate, first-class, state-of-the-art space for you to do your exercises. Prolong your life, prolong a happy, healthy life, for youngsters to go and practice, train, hone their skills. That's what the facility was made for. And we have left it unlocked for that reason. Mark you, we could padlock the whole facility. We could padlock it and say the only people who could use it is the schools and sports once they get permission. I will hold there and go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
You're on the air, go ahead.
Yeah, Premier Brantley is me again.
Yes.
Premier Brantley, you know, I learn in life, right, that some people will criticize and some people will comment. It is inevitable. What I noticed though is that most time the people who keep criticizing over and over and over and never comment, it really defines the character of that person more than the person that the criticism is directed at.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say also is this. When people criticize me now, I'm kind of learning that, well, my response is to listen to what they say and see if there's anything that they say that I can improve upon, and as such turn their criticism into a positive for myself. But, you know, some people, they just seem like all they want to do is criticize, criticize, criticize. I think it's a little too early in the year to start right off with criticism. Could you imagine a child just born in the world and right away you start talking negative to the child? You don't want to give her a little chance. You know, let's get positive, man. Good night.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you're right. And so I go back to the point I was making about the Mondo track facility. So I posted this video because I was frustrated. As I said, I personally have gone there multiple times and chased animals out of that facility. Jameer Claxton, our director of sports, he tired of hearing from me because I keep calling Jameer. Jameer, animals are there again. Sometimes if I'm in a rush and I don't have the time, and Jameer will leave whatever he's doing or get somebody to go there and chase the animals out. I said to the farmers in the area, you all have a responsibility because Your responsibility first and foremost is to secure your animals. This practice in Nevis where every morning people get up, open their gate, and send hundreds of animals onto the street to roam, even the streets of Charlestown. That cannot be right. And so farmers, you have a responsibility. But the public using the Mondo track also has a responsibility. Several of the farmers, and I know them well, have called me. And they've said to me that part of the problem is that people go, they open the gate to go and use the facility. They leave the gate open. They leave after they train or after they exercise, and they leave the gate wide open. So the animals are wandering into the facility, and that's how they're getting in. And they're not just going into the outer perimeters of the facility. People are also leaving the gates open that takes you onto the track and onto the football pitch itself. And that is why you had all these animals on the football pitch and on the Mondo track look like it's either FIFA World Cup or Olympic 100 meters. And I am just scratching my head, because if we were to respond as government and say we must protect this investment and padlock and say the public is no longer welcome here, the only people can use it are track clubs who are authorized, schools, and Ministry of Sports. So the youngsters who want to go and practice football in the afternoon, we're very sorry. If you want to go and run on the track and exercise and practice, we're very sorry. If you're elderly and you want to take your walk, because the track, of course, is the material is easier on your feet than, say, the concrete, we're sorry. If that is the response from the government, then you'll hear a new set of cussing and arguing and noise in the country. Oh, imagine that. Then build the track and we can't use the track. Well, my God, how hard is it to ask you then, if you're going to use it, that you have the responsibility? You all hear me use that word a lot. The responsibility. If you're going to use it, close the gate. What is so hard about that? I am not absolving the farmers to control the animals, but I'm saying to the people who use in the facility, close the gate. You know what we were forced to do? We went and put these, I don't know what they're called, but it's like a spring. So when the gate is open, the gate springs back closed, because we realize that this ongoing problem and people just refuse to use the facility in a responsible way. So when I went over, what did I realize? That some of the springs look like they're broken off or they're not working. And just that half a second that it would take to close the gate behind somebody, our people are refusing to do that. They want to use the facility. They want the benefit of using the facility, but they can't care enough about the same facility that they're using to close the gate so the facility is not overrun with animals. This is Nevis. And I sit back often, and I wake early sometimes, and at 4 o'clock in the morning I'm there and I'm thinking and I'm asking, what can we do to reach that element in our society? Because it's not everybody, it's not even a majority. That small section of our society that just doesn't care about anything, doesn't care about anybody, cares only about themselves. Because if they go and use it today, they don't care, they don't use it. So if somebody, is not there for somebody else to use tomorrow, no trouble to them. What can we do? And when is it that these people, these Nevisians, became part of our society? People who will come out their gate and see garbage in front of their gate and call somebody and say, hey, you got garbage up here now, because they will not clean it up. Or if they clean it up, they're looking for pay to do it. People will drive along and fling their garbage, fling their styrofoam, fling the container they're eating out of, the bottle, just throw it out the window. That's somebody else's problem to deal with. I don't eat the food, so I throw out the garbage in the street. Where did those people come from? Nevis was always a place where we took pride. We took pride. I drove up there the other day there by Rollins. I don't know who did it, but I want to publicly congratulate whoever did it. That right there, as you go there by Market Shop, the young fellas, young ladies, whoever it was, they've created a bit of a garden. Right there by Rollins. And I keep asking myself, why is it we can't have our villages, our communities, our societies? We used to have so many volunteer groups who got together. Now everything on this island is money. A man ain't even want to clean his own yard. It look like soon people gonna tell you, you got to pay me to clean my house. You want me to wash my skin? You got to pay me to wash my skin. It looks like that's where we're headed. Because we have somehow lost our way. And I'm encouraging our people to come back. Protect what we have. Don't go around and vandalize the school property, students. Protect what we have. You hear I just say we just, through a partnership with Winsong, we are going to get 4 40-foot containers of brand new furniture. Getting it out of Canada. I am hopeful that that furniture can last us for a very long time. It's a significant investment in Nevis and in education. Kudos to the Honorable Troy Liebert and his team. Zanella Claxton, fine permanent secretary. Londa Brown, the PO, congratulations to the entire management structure and the team. But take care of the things that we have. Take care of our island, our assets. Understand that to do the Mondo track we had to forego doing something else. And see it as our own, and therefore you want to protect it. And the farmers too. You want to help protect it too. And you can help protect it by controlling your animals. But the people who are using the facility, good God, how much effort would it take just to close the gate? How much? If it's a team of youngsters that go over there, then designate somebody. Hey, your job is to make sure that gate is closed. And that is the way that we protect that facility for the use of those who are using it now and those who are still to come. I can't emphasize that enough. So, Mr. Nolan, thanks for your call, because you allowed me a springboard to talk about that. Groups, individuals who can really organize to give back. On that note, over the Christmas season, CCM as a party is not a party that really engages in charitable work and then talks about it. We don't help people and go and take photos and things like that. That has not really been our style. And the ethos of our party is where we can to help, but to do so in a quiet and manner that lends dignity to those who benefit from that help. And I was very happy that over the Christmas season that we would have distributed over $30,000 worth of food vouchers across the island, that people would have benefited, and those who identified who benefited would have got $150 to go to one of their grocery stores in order to ensure that they had some food on their table for Christmas. And that was an initiative that was undertaken by the party. I want to thank all of those who donated, who made it possible. And of course, there'll be no names because that's not how we do things, but I really just want to say thank you. And to those who would have been the beneficiaries, I hope that that helped in some small way to make things a little easier for you during Christmas. And so these are some of the initiatives that I want to see replicated. Could you imagine if all of us who had the capacity to do something actually spent the time doing, spent the time helping, spent the time giving? It would make this island such a better place if we were able to just do more to help each other. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a point that I will continue to stress throughout this new year. We have to find ways to start to give back to this island that has given us so much. Nevis is blessed by God. I said to someone one time, he tells me it's blasphemy. I say, well, I apologize. But I feel that Nevis was created by God on the 6th day. Nevis was created by God on the 6th day, because having created Nevis and having therefore created perfection, on the 7th day God rested. God said, me done make Nevis, I don't have a thing else to prove, I don't have a thing else to do. So on day 7 he rested. Yes, Nevis was created on day 6. I believe all of us should know that, because you know you did all the others, and then you came and you said, I'm going to leave the best for last. And after that, I go on go sleep. I go on go rest. Because I've achieved perfection. Nevis has been good to us. And we must therefore be good to Nevis. So look out for people, man. Look out for each other. Engage in the community in projects that are meaningful and that add value. Help people, not for photo op, but help people because it's the genuine thing to do. And I want to see the community groups and the social groups come back. They must be able to come back together, to contribute, to continue to assist the development of this island. This attitude that it's up to the government cannot do it alone. We will never be able to do it alone. So I'm urging our people, I'm begging our people, I'm beseeching our people to continue to do the best that we can. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a good show for our first show. I thank those who called, I thank those who participated, and I thank Von Radio for continuing to give me this privilege, because that's what it is, to come here on a Wednesday night and have a conversation with our people. Thank you. This show is rebroadcast as usual the day after, every Thursday at 1 p.m. right here on One Radio. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to it tonight, you can listen tomorrow. And if you listen tonight and you want to listen twice because it was so nice, then do it tomorrow as well. And never let anybody tell you what was said. Listen for yourself. Too many of us are refusing to listen and then responding to what somebody said they heard was said. Listen to it for yourself. If you haven't listened tonight, then listen tomorrow. That's it. The banner struck up. Our first show for 2025 is now one for the ages. Thank you. Good night. God bless you. And please, let us continue to love each other. Let us continue to work together. Let us continue growing Nevis and by extension our federation together. Good night and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views